Alright, what's up guys? It's Midnight Speaker making another video again. I had this idea because everybody knows that every tech tree in War Thunder has its good parts, like its strong sets and its weak sets, and what's good about it and what's bad about it. So I had the idea that I could use the Wheel of Names to choose one tech tree, and then I would choose what I wanted from it. So I could choose the light tanks, and of course there are some that aren't like specific, but I'm going to do like the average, so like the lightest average tank tree, and then the medium tanks, and then the heavy tanks, SBG, SBAA, cast bomber, and then for the fighter ones, there isn't a way to distinguish them because like not every nation has a naval fighter tree and not every nation has a heavy fighter tree, so it's just like from left to right, and if they don't have a third one, then I can't pick that for fighter 3. And then other than that, that's all. So I'm also going to have War Thunder open so that I can just kind of go look at the tech trees and make good choices here. So like I was just saying, on the British ground tree, we do have pretty much like two kind of light tank lines, except the South African line, which is on the right, is almost all light tanks, while the line on the left is more of like some light tanks and some medium tanks. So the light tank line here would be counted as the far right one, and the medium tanks would be the left one. And then also for like USA, you have like these air tech trees, and there are 3 fighter ones. Most tech trees have 3 fighter ones, except for some might have 2, and you can't really classify them as like heavy fighter trees because there aren't any US heavy fighter trees. We don't have heavy fighters, and then also like some nations don't have naval fighters like the US does, and so it's just left to right. Alright, so first up, we are going to be picking from the US. When I looked at the US, the first thing I thought was probably the heavy tank tree because that leads to the Abrams. But we have this big gap here, and also some of the earlier stuff isn't that good. So then the next thing I thought about was probably aviation. And with the aviation trees, the second tree, which has P-36, P-51, F-4 Phantom, and F-15, is probably the best. So I'm going to go with fighter tree number 2 for my US pick. So since we picked US, we will be putting them in fighter 2 like we picked, and I'll put in parentheses all of the like major things, the really good things that are the highlights of that tree. So for here it would be P-51, F-4, F-15. On to the next wheel spin. We've got the UK. So when I look at the British tree, the tanks are lacking, to say the least. So we're obviously going to pick planes here, and the 2 good trees that they have here are their cast tree and their bomber tree. And so I thought about it for a little bit, and they both have lots of content. But I think that the bomber tree would be better because not a whole lot of nations have very good bomber trees, while there are a few more that have good cast trees. So now I've got to fill it in. We got UK, which has like Lancaster F-111. Now time to spin again. We've got Italy. That's a little bit rough. I've been looking at this tech tree for a few minutes now, and there's just nothing really of value here. It was a pretty tough choice, but I think I'm going to take their close air support tree just because it's not horrible. It's not good at all. This is kind of a throwaway pick, but it could have been worse because most of the Italian trees are just horrible. So now that we've got that written down, let's go to our next pick and see what we end up rolling. We got the Soviet Union. I can work with that. So for the Soviet tree, I had trouble picking which one I wanted, but for the complete opposite reason of how I had trouble picking what I wanted from Italy. Because when I was picking what I wanted from Italy, I was having trouble because everything kind of was bad. But here, everything is good. I finally narrowed it down to either the fighter tree number 3, which went to the Su-27 with a bunch of other fun stuff, or if I wanted to get the medium tank tree, which had the T-90, the T-34, and the BT-5. But I'm honestly going to take the medium tank tree because it's just so good, and it has Russian bias as well, obviously. So now we've got that in, let's see what we get next. USA again. So I was going to go for the heavy tank tree here because it's really good, except then I remember that I haven't pulled Germany yet, and there still is a very good chance for that, and I want to gamble on that because getting Germany for my heavy tank tree would be absolutely stacked. And so I went with the next best thing, which is the fighter tree #1, because it has absolute staples like the P400, the P38, and the F16. So I got those in, except I started looking at my tree, and I need to get fighter 3 as well as heavy tank in soon, because there are a lot of nations that don't have those two trees, including Sweden, Israel, just to name a few. So I need to get heavy tank and fighter 3 soon. But for our next nation that we get to pick from, it is going to be Japan. So Japan normally would have been a good pick because it does have good trees, but because of what we've already picked, being medium tank, and fighter 1 and fighter 2, the good trees that they have are already taken. We do have fighter tree 3, except it just stops at rank 4, which is pretty dumb, and until then it doesn't have anything very good. And then as for the army, they don't even have a heavy tank tree, so I'm picking between light tank, SPG, or SPAA. So if I look at this, the light tanks skip rank 2 and they aren't very good, and the SPAAs are also very lacking, and so we're going to go with SPG, which isn't that good of a pick. There are a lot better SPG trees in the game, but it's also not bad. It's a mediocre pick, and we can survive a few mediocre picks for our tree. It's also got the Ho row, which is super overpowered. If you've never played it, I highly recommend trying it out. So here's our updated list. We still have heavy tank and fighter 3 to go, which we need really badly, and then we also have light tank and SPAA. If we end up on a tree that's not good, I'm willing to waste the SPAA. These other 3 are really vital, though. We need to get good nations here. So let's see what we get. Israel. We'll see how that is. I haven't looked at their tree that much, so I don't really know. This is a major loss on our hands. Mainly because rank 1, 2, and 3 for Israel just doesn't exist, and so if this was in one tech tree, we just wouldn't have a rank 1, 2, or 3. We also don't have a fighter 3 line, so we have to choose army, which leaves us, they don't have heavy tanks, so it leaves us with their light tank line and their SPAA line, which their light tank line is not very good, and it also obviously starts at rank 4, so we're just gonna throw away SPAA on this, which is, it could be worse, but it starts late and it's not that good. The only good thing that I see here is the Csaba call, but that's fine. Here's our updated list again, so now let's go look at the Wheel of Names and see what we get to pick from next. Oh, that's China. I'm telling you right now, I know that they don't have fighter 3 and they don't have heavy tank, so we have to choose this light tank tree. Well, that's where the run gets bad, because we have not much in store here. We do have a few things that are like Lend-Lease that aren't too bad. Like we have a Stuart and we have a few Russian tanks in here. But mostly it's just weird and it's just not good. I mean, I guess it could have been worse. I mean, it's not, it could have been Italy, but it's still not what we want to see. That one really hurt us. So now we literally have heavy tank and fighter 3, which means that if we get a nation here that only has 4 trees on both their air tree and their ground tree, then that means that we just either don't get heavy tanks or don't get fighters. So let's see what it is. Hopefully it's something good. Oh, it's Germany! It's Germany! Oh, it's huge. That's a comeback and a half. This is actually amazing. So the third fighter tree is not that good anyway, but the heavy tanks, man, That's the best I could have gotten for heavy tanks. We've got the Panzer III to the Tiger, all the way down to the Leopard 2K. That was so amazing. That was the best I could have gotten. Alright, so now all we have left is Fighter 3. So this isn't even our choice anymore. The wheel gets to choose which fighters we get. So let's see what we get. And we don't get fighters. Okay, but that's fine. We still have 2 fighter trees, and we have a decent looking tech tree. So, in conclusion, this is our tech tree that we've made. If this was in-game, it would be a little bit overpowered, but it wouldn't be too overpowered because we did have some bad pulls. But in the end, it's still nice. It's a usable tech tree if this was in-game, so I feel like I did well in this challenge. If you want to, you can make your own video on this, or just try it on your own. See if you get better. You can tell me in the comments or something, or you can just make your own video on it. Thank y'all for watching. Please watch another video, subscribe, like, all that. Peace out.